Martin Scorsese's place in Hollywood history as one of its greatest auteurs is assured. Coming out of the new Hollywood movement, Scorsese staked his claim as a bold and visionary filmmaker whose encyclopedic knowledge of film history and meticulous attention to detail has resulted in some of the greatest American films ever made. Throughout his career, he's been able to deftly maneuver the changing tides of Hollywood and has mastered many genres, continuing to deliver thought-provoking and deliriously entertaining films, while many of his contemporaries struggle to remain relevant. Scorsese's career is filled with absolute masterpieces, overlooked classics, and underrated gems. Ask any cinephile to rename their favourite Scorsese film, and the chance the answer will always be different. Ranking the director's essential filmic accomplishments is therefore an arbitrary and completely subjective process, but there's never a bad time to revisit his immaculate filmography. Welcome to Popcorn Programming, and here is our list of the 10 most essential Martin Scorsese films ever made. Pop pop! In number 10, we have Killers of the Flower Moon from 2023. It may be bold to consider Scorsese's most recent film as one of his most essential. However, tomorrow is never promised, and every filmmaker's most recent film may be their last, so deference must be shown. If it were to be the director's last, he would go out on a stunning revisionist western. Scorsese has long shown his admiration for the western genre, with nods to it throughout his filmography. The director leaves his own personal mark on the genre by tuning his conventions upside down. Based on David Grant's novel of the same name, it shines a light on the Osage murders that plagued an entire county and people for 2 decades. Scorsese has occasionally been taken to task for the reduced role of women in his films, which isn't exactly a fair criticism given the male-dominated nature of many of his films' plots, and the fact that they also feature a great number of memorable female characters. That list includes Lily Gladstone's heart-wrenching performance as Molly Burkhart. Despite the film's focus on the horrific white men who perpetrated the killings, Gladstone is his beating heart, and maybe the most altruistic character to ever feature in a Scorsese film. Like many of Scorsese's crime films, Killers of the Flower Moon is a sprawling and emotionally infuriating as it plunges into the violent history of America. In number 9, we have Italian American from 1974. There are several films by Scorsese that could be considered to feature autobiographical elements from the director's real life, but the filmmaker has never directed anything explicitly telling his own story. The closest he has ever come is the 49-minute documentary Italian American. Filmed in the 70s, the short doc is essentially a one-long dinner conversation between Scorsese and his parents, as they detail their own upbringing and experiences as the children of Italian immigrants in New York City. It's easily Scorsese's most romantic and charming film ever made. Not only does the film offer the briefest of glimpses into Scorsese's own home life, it also gives the stage to his mother Catherine, who is a woman who is completely genuine and hilarious. Scorsese would give his mother several small roles in his films, most memorably as the mother to Joe Pesci's character in Goodfellas, where she steals a scene from Pesci, Robert De Niro, and Ray Liotta. Watching Italian American, one can draw a line to Scorsese as a filmmaker from his mother's innate ability to tell captivating stories. In number 8, we have Mean Streets from 1973. While Scorsese has made 2 films prior, The Independent, Who's That Knocking at My Door, and the Roger Corman B-movie Boxcar Bertha, Mean Streets was his true breakthrough as a filmmaker, taking inspiration from the kind of individuals and events that Scorsese grew up around in Little Italy. It's the director's first feature-length foray into the crime genre that would come to define his career. Following small-time hoods as they try to navigate the titular mean streets is an unvarnished look at the lives of crime that feature many of the distinguishing visual features that Scorsese would continue to develop in his later contributions to the genre. Starring frequent collaborator Harvey Keitel in the lead role, the film was also Scorsese's first time working with a little-known actor as Robert De Niro, whose performance as Johnny Boy became a calling card for the young actor, even though he wasn't actually initially sold on the film. It's a live-wire crime film that made a massive promise for the future of Scorsese's career, one that he's continually delivered on since. In number 7, we have The Irishman from 2019. From Scorsese's first foray to the gangster genre to his seemingly final word on it, The Irishman builds on Scorsese's career of filmed organised crime and tackles it all the way to its inevitable conclusion. Based on Charles Brandt's novel I Heard You Paint Houses, and using that title on screen as well, the film follows the life of infamous mob enforcer Frank Sheehan, his rise through the criminal ranks and subsequent friendships with union leader Jimmy Hoffa. Across the film's epic rundown, it details the tragic reality of organised crime with each new criminal character introduced with on-screen text detailing the time and nature of their death. It's a stark reminder of every one of these characters is living on borrowed time in the best mafia movie of the 21st century. The film famously used digital technology to de-age its central cast members to allow them to play the characters across multiple decades. The effect isn't always convincing, but just as shot continuity, but never been an obstacle to Scorsese. The distraction of the CGI eventually fades into the background just as De Niro as Sheehan begins to fade into his true age. Scorsese's first collaboration with Al Pacino, who plays Hoffa, also does not disappoint, with the veteran actor exuding the rage, charm and obstinance of the larger-than-life figure. The sequence of events leading up to his death scene is perfection in filmmaking and a punctuation mark on the Scorsese's long relationship with these kinds of characters. In number 6 we have The Wolf of Wall Street from 2013. Scorsese's career in the 21st century has been mostly dominated by his working relationship with Leonardo DiCaprio, with both talents bringing out the best in one another. Their best and most memorable collaboration came in the form of the black comedy The Wolf of Wall Street. Trading the blue collar of his previous movie Criminals for a white one, Scorsese charts a modern-day Caligula through the true crimes of Wall Street scum Jordan Belfort. The power of the film has been somewhat muted by its misguided film bros who have mistakenly placed Belfort's character as an inspirational figure, as well as the continued terrible behaviour of his real-life inspiration. Even taking all that into account, the film remains a sicko classic that depicts the excessive behaviour of some of America's most greedy individuals in explicit detail. DiCaprio gives his funniest performance ever alongside an unhinged Jonah Hill and a star-making performance from Margot Robbie. One of Scorsese's greatest strengths has been his ability to craft engaging and entertaining narratives around despicable characters, and The Wolf of Wall Street exercises that muscle to its maximum capacity. In number 5 with The Last Temptation of Christ from 1988. If there is one other aspect of Scorsese's life that has been a constant in his career, it is Catholic faith. While faith has figured in minor ways in several of his films, he has only directly addressed religion in 3. Silence details the struggle of Catholic missionaries in 17th century Japan, and is one of his more underrated films, while Kundun, which focuses on a 20-year period in the life of Dalai Lama, is the most un-Scorsese film of his career. His most powerful and controversial faith-based film is The Last Temptation of Christ. Scorsese spent most of the 80s trying to adapt Nikos Kazantzakis' novel, which is infamous among religious groups for humanizing Jesus Christ and depicting his struggles with temptation. When he eventually did complete the film, it was unsurprisingly met with outrage from some Christian organizations. Regardless of the film's fidelity to the Gospels, it is a genuine and challenging viewing experience that tackles Christ and faith in a manner that often transcends its religious confines to tell an existential story of temptation, violence, and redemption. In number 4 we have The King of Comedy from 1982. The changing cinematic landscape of the 1980s caused many of new Hollywood filmmakers to reassess their careers in order to stay relevant in the era of blockbusters and studio control. Scorsese responded to this shift by expanding his focus and taking on different projects. The Color of Money was a commercial prospect, being a legacy sequel to The Hustler, and After Hours was an original yuppie nightmare black comedy. His best from this period, though, of reevaluation is The King of Comedy, which is a comic showbiz satire featuring one of his most deranged protagonists. Robert De Niro plays Rupert Pupkin, an aspiring stand-up comedian who becomes obsessed with a successful comic and talk show host played by Jerry Lewis. Aspects of the plot may seem familiar, as they were later recycled into Todd Phillips' Joker, which is much less successful in its approach to depicting its character's obsessions. Stick with Scorsese's original black comedy cult classic for its pitch-perfect performances, and to see how the director proves his skill in staging more overtly comedic situations. The discomfort of watching De Niro boldly flail through his attempts to break into the industry only grows as the film goes on, and climaxes an abduction that is as equally hysterical as it is disconcerting. In number 3 we have Taxi Driver from 1976. Rupert Pupkin may be awkward, but he's downright sociable in comparison to Scorsese and De Niro's prior loner protagonist. Travis Bickle is an antisocial anti-hero whose urban isolation is only exacerbated by his profession as a late-night taxi driver. Scorsese's films have often explored the darkest corners of America, and there are few corners darker than those on the streets of New York City in the 1970s. The film is not only a perfect time capsule of its setting, but also grown in relevance as the character of Bickle has been worryingly reflected in many individuals that have garnered recent news attention. Paul Schrader's script, which was influenced by controversial western The Searchers, offers no easy interpretations, and Scorsese matches that in his visuals, which give the film a lucid, dreamlike quality. De Niro fully disappears into his role as a ticking time bomb set loose on the streets, and he's matched by the then teenage Jodie Foster as an underage sex worker and Harvey Keitel as her scummy pimp. The final shootout still manages to shock in the modern era, even when its levels of violence has long been eclipsed by numerous horror and action films. Taxi Driver is a dark American masterpiece. In number 2, we have Raging Bull from 1980. Scorsese's biopic of boxer Jake LaMotta is the darkest sports movie ever made, and that's not just because it's in black and white, and is the only film in the director's career that holds the import of having saved his life. After struggling with substance abuse, after being hospitalized by it, and the failure of his previous film New York, New York, Scorsese took the project on at the urge of De Niro. He poured every ounce of his talent and creativity into the film, crafting Raging Bull into an unqualified masterpiece that revitalized his career. Unvarnished doesn't come close to describing this gritty approach that Scorsese takes on the real-life Jake LaMotta, whose own life was littered with abuse and violence. De Niro's physical transformation to depict LaMotta at both his peak boxing weight and as the bloated nightclub performer he would become the stuff of Hollywood legend. But the weight gain was far more than celebrity vanity in search for Oscar glory. De Niro embodies LaMotta like a caged animal constantly fighting to escape his confines. Scorsese's use of gorgeous black and white cinematography to depict LaMotta's rise and fall, with the boxing sequences especially standing out. Instead of trying to approach realism, Scorsese uses more expressionist tactics to fully convey the utter savagery of the sport. Raging Bull is a bruising experience that isn't really shaken off. And at number 1, we have Goodfellas from 1990. Goodfellas is an essential film. It's an essential gangster movie, an essential American classic, and absolutely essential to Scorsese's career. With an electric style of editing and sound design that continually builds in momentum, matched by the cinematography that pulls the audience into the world of organised crime, Goodfellas redefined what a gangster movie could be, and established an energy in Scorsese's filmmaking that would continue through the next decade of his career. While The Godfather is an immaculate portrayal of an American crime family, Goodfellas' depiction of the workaday gangster truly encapsulates why a life of crime can appeal to anyone. Based on the life of gangster Henry Hill, as related in Nicholas Pileggi's true crime novel Wise Guy, which is also really good and would give a read if you enjoy the film, Ray Liotta gives an intense performance as a man who wants nothing more than to be a criminal. Pesci has never been more mesmerizing as Henry's violent best friend, and De Niro sees with calm menace as the elder mentor Lorraine Bracco remains out of the main cast as Hill's long-suffering wife and burns up the screen with her character consumed by her marriage to the mob. The ending where a broken Hill turns to witness protection on his former associates is a hard come down from the toxic thrills that fill every frame before them. Scorsese is in total command of his craft, and Goodfellas is his masterclass in filmmaking. And there you have it, there is our list. So what do you think? What's your opinion on Martin Scorsese, and what's your favourite film by him? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you are new around here. That's all for now, so to thank you for watching, and we'll see you later. Pop pop!